Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. We just want to make a small announcement. Dr. James Mwangi is with us. He just finished a short meeting. He should be joining us in a few minutes, then we start the program for the evening. Please bear with us. Thank you. Good evening once again. We want to start the program for the evening, and once again, our apologies. The chairman, Kenya Vision 2030, Dr. James Mwangi, community leaders present, invited guests living in the US from Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, and Tanzania, equity officials, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us once again this evening. We want to start by inviting Ezekiel Luhigo to open for us with a word of prayer. Ezekiel.
Habari zenu wana diaspora wa Afrika Mashariki. Please allow me to use the East African language, which is Swahili, to open kwa ajili ya shughuli hii. Tuombe. Mungu Baba Mwenyezi, muumba wa mbingu na nchi, tunakushukuru tena kwa siku hii ya leo. Tumefika mahali hapa katika kujadili mambo ya manufaa, mambo ya maendeleo. Tunaomba uwepo wako utamalaki mahali hapa. Bariki kila kitu ambacho kitakachokuwa kikienda kikijadiliwa mahali hapa. Tunaomba utuongoze, utupe mawazo, hekima, akili na maarifa ya kujadili na kupembua yote ambayo yako mbele yetu. Tukikushukuru Mungu Baba kwa yote, kwa jina la Yesu aliye Bwana na Mwokozi wetu. Amen.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Can we appreciate Ezekiel? Thank you. Allow me to invite one of our community leaders, Chris Kebadi, to make a few remarks and invite for us Dr. James Mwangi. Chris.
All right, thank you, brother. Thank you very much. As you heard, my name is Kebadi, and Dr. James Mwangi, we're so glad and happy to have you here. Your brand has been the flagship here in the United States for quite a while, and it's, as you can see, the turnout is great. I know you have a great words to tell us. I am going to start here and talk about a little bit about Dr. James in terms of who he is. And I have an extensive bio here that is just amazing. You've heard of the Vision 2030. He's the chairman of that vision. The goal here is to get Kenya into this a middle-income country with high standards of living by 2030. The year now is what? 2016. We're looking at 14 years for that vision to come to fruition. Dr. James, he is the CEO and MD of Equity Bank. He holds 5 honorary doctorate degrees in recognition of his contributions to the Kenyan society. A BCom and a CPA. He's been honored 3 times with presidential awards. He was vested the first class Chief Order of the Burning Spear. Outstanding contribution in economic development. World Entrepreneur, Ernst & Young, the year 2012. He serves on several international bodies. He's a Chancellor of Mary University, and as you all know, has an extensive experience in banking. We are going through some amazing troubled times right now in banking, especially when it comes to third world countries, especially our homeland. This forum today is an East African forum. It's not a Kenyan forum, it's an East African forum. We're here to learn from the best and brightest minds that come with investments. The cradle of civilization in this day and age, as we all know, dwells in banking. A central bank is the most functional body financially anywhere in the world. And we're going through times right now, a lot of our hard work, you wake up, you work for 30 years, and the last thing we want to hear about is the running the banks. Investments, we in the diaspora, as we know this, we are the #1 foreign exchange earner. I'm going to speak for Kenya. We are the #1 foreign exchange earner for our country. above tourism. I'm talking about $1.5 billion every year. And that's what we know is documented. There's a lot more that's out there that we don't get. East Africa is the cradle of civilization. And today, through the words of our fabulous doctor here, we'll get to understand and figure out what the future holds. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And Dr. James, thank you for honoring us with your service today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bwana Kibathi. I don't know what to say after setting the expectation so high about banking, but all the same, thank you very much. Again, I want to join Alex in really apologizing for starting this program late. We are late, and we really deeply apologize. It was a very tight day. I know there are about even 2-3 meetings with people who are inside. We haven't been able to do the community leaders who still do those meetings after the event. So bear with us because we wanted to fulfill all the obligations that had been put ahead of us. It has been a very taxing week, starting on Thursday in Los Angeles, Friday being in Dallas, Saturday being in Talanda, and then today being here, and tomorrow being in down at New Jersey. And simply because we felt we owed the diaspora an obligation to bring them to speed on the economic opportunities, the investment opportunities back in your homeland. As Kibathi has mentioned, if you look at each of the economy, diaspora contributes significantly to the well-being of our economies. As he said, Kenya, diaspora remittances have overtaken tourism, have overtaken tea, have overtaken horticulture, flower export to be the #1 foreign exchange earner to the country. In reciprocation, the countries have responded by starting to acknowledge diaspora as part of the mainstream economy. And I think in Kenya, we now have the diaspora program under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. It's no longer about the traditional diplomacy. It's about trade, diaspora as the mainstream, and then diplomacy becomes #3. If you look, Kenya has declared diaspora the 48th county. It's still being organized. It hasn't got the real structure. But if you look at also the African Union, Vision 2063, diaspora has been recognized as a country in Africa, as a state in Africa. So essentially, now we are talking about vision. We start with Rwanda. Rwanda has Vision 2020, Tanzania 2025, Kenya 2030, Uganda 2040, and African Union 2063. As you can see, every country is coming up with aspiration. These dreams and visions are born out of the frustrations that 50 years after independence, we hadn't made significant progress. And the question was, where did we go wrong? What could we do differently? And so like Kenya, it was very specific. By the year 2030, the country must be globally competitive, providing Kenyans with high standard of living, and the governance structure should be issue-based. And it's essentially any of the countries, that's the dreams they have. And I think these aspirations are no longer what we used to have in the old days. Dreams like water for every home by the year 2000, if you can remember. This one seems to be working, and they're transforming the East African economy and creating significant investment opportunities. I know of the Ugandans in this room who came here in the early 70s and late 70s. Kenyans, most of them came to the US in the 80s and the 90s, and a few in the early 2000s. I'm sure it's the same of Rwanda and basically about Tanzania. They came here because the East African economy was not providing them with adequate opportunities. The education had been given to the population was growing, we had political independence, but when it came to livelihood, there were huge challenges. And of course, there were other issues that played in. And so people went to look for opportunity. And America, being the land of opportunities, seemed to have been the biggest magnet in attracting the East Africans. And as a result, we have the largest diaspora in the United States of America. But time has come for us to hold the mirror and say, situation, circumstances, and conditions are changing in East Africa. And we can evaluate the economic opportunities being generated and mirror them with the opportunities we are enjoying in America, and then make a rational decision as to where the opportunities are, because we have proven we are rational beings. We were drawn by opportunities. If opportunities then tend to start emerging, they can convince us it is time to participate in the investment opportunities back at home. And so what I will try to do is to merge the four visions into one and use one framework, because they're exactly the same framework. I will then run through each of them just to confirm I've exhausted. But the one I'm very familiar with and very knowledgeable about is Kenya Vision 2030. I was very privileged as a Kenyan in 2003 to be requested to join McKinsey to design this aspiration for the country. And for 5 years, we did nothing else with McKinsey but to formulate the vision and have it ratified by the Kenyan people. And out of the bruise, President Kibaki looked at me and said, "You seem to be the youngest in this team. How will you be by the year 2030? And I gave them, he said, this dream is yours. Share the board that will deliver because you understand the technical aspiration. So since inception, I've been the chairman of Kenya Vision 2030. We have achieved some milestones. There's still a long way to go. But we are very excited that while we might not have delivered very high quality standard of living, the country has emerged to join the league of middle income economies. And the only thing left within the next 14 years is to make the country globally competitive and enhance and increase the standard of living of the people. It's no longer about entering, we are already a middle income economy. It is suggested Tanzania should join Kenya by 2020 or 2021 to join the leagues of middle income economies. And I'm sure before 2025, we'll have Uganda and maybe Rwanda also joining the league. But they would join at the lower level, and all of us then have to keep on pushing the economies so that they can. The aspiration is to increase. For Kenya, it was to increase the GDP per capita from $800 to about 3,500. In 9 years, we have made it now to 1,500 GDP, almost doubling what we had. And so in another 10 years, if we double, we'll be above 3,000. And then hopefully, we are very confident in the aspirations. A transformation of a country, and particularly a country like Rwanda, which has been able to double its GDP within a period of 6 years, or Kenya within a period of 9 years, contributes and generates a lot of investment opportunities. The East African economies are being driven by three things. The first one is massive policy changes reforms, what one would call reforms. They started in the late 90s, and the early 2000 years were very painful years, 20 years of very painful reforms in the economic. What have we achieved? Fairly stable microeconomic environment. Those who particularly who understand Kenya, Kenya has proven to have been the most resilient economy in terms of exchange between the Kenya shilling and the US dollar over the last 1 year. And again, because of stable microeconomic environment. If you look at the currency between Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Kenya, they are all in a very stable exchange regimes. And that really then allows the private sector to use a predictable economic environment to do projections. And we'll see the impact that has had. The second aspect, or third aspect, has been massive investment in infrastructure. One, to ease logistic issues, the issue of logistics. The second one is to open the region in terms of ease of doing business. And if you look, Rwanda has led the region or the continent in being the most improved country over the last 4 years. If you look at Kenya, over the last 2 years, we have jumped 44 places in the ranking of ease of doing business. So if the economies are making strides, and as they make strides, huge opportunities are being generated. And those are the opportunities I want to share with you briefly so that you can compare whether they are attractive enough to get your attention, to tapping into them and help and make your contribution in this journey of transformation of our economies. So let's go through this presentation. We'll try to be a little bit faster than would have done. Alex, if you could release the system. So essentially, where the economies have been moving heavily is in this aspect. There are 4 areas that have been focused on. The first one, as we said, is economy, stabilize microeconomic environment, and sustain rapid growth. Rwanda, over a period of nearly 10 years, has almost averaged 8%. Kenya has averaged 5%. Uganda has averaged, and Tanzania have averaged 7%. And so they are making, you need not to look at the absolute number, you need to look at that number in relativity. If you look at Sub-Saharan Africa, this year Sub-Saharan Africa is projected to grow at 1.4%. So when you talk about 1.4% for Sub-Saharan Africa, and then you have these 4 countries growing at an average of 7%, then it tells you how significant that growth is. Growth of economies is in relative terms. If you add South Africa and add North Africa, then the African growth rate, GDP, drops down to 1.2. Then you compare 1.2 and 7, then you really appreciate that this region is growing 5 times faster, and we shall see the impact of that. The second one is the massive investment that the region is making in the social aspect of society, investing in people. Basically, the biggest investment, of course, is going to education, massive education investment. Most of the countries making primary education free and compulsory by law, and then others making huge subsidies in secondary education, make it affordable. And we have started seeing significant transition rates. In Kenya, we have about 96% of all children getting to primary school, but we have a transition rate from primary to secondary of 80%. So if you remember 80% in your days in your village, you can see how much progress has been made. That 80% of the children in your village now attend secondary schools. That's really the huge transition we are seeing. The second and massive investment is in health. And if you look at health, the budget allocations have become also very significant. And of course, the private sector is helping with housing and such social services. So essentially, massive investment in people. It's not about, and of course, what has troubled Africa for many years is governance, what we are calling the political issue. And most of them are anchoring the reforms in law. That explains, for instance, the Kenyan situation of changing the constitution to create a governance structure that could produce a better environment. If you look at the aspiration of Vision 2030, was our politics should move away from personalities to issue-based politics. And if you look at it very, very closely, because of the new constitution, you can see, yes, last elections was fairly competitively contested, but it was resolved within the law when disputes arose. If we didn't have this legal framework, most likely it could have gone like the 2007 and 2008, when we didn't have competent structural institutional framework to deal with that situation. So we are now seeing more and more. If you look, next year's elections are promising to be equally competitive. But what have we seen? We are seeing as if it will be more of 2 or 3 parties. It's no longer the 46 parties that used to compete for elections. Why? It's no longer about the individuals and the parties they own. We are coming closer to what we have in the Western world, where you have 2 or 3 parties, such that it is policies, it's ideologies, and it is issues. So it's no longer where every tribe had its political party. We are past that now. We have, for instance, 42 tribes. I guess we shall not have more than 3 presidential candidates the next election. Why? People are coalescing towards philosophies and on issues other than their tribes. What helped to diffuse that? It was devolution. Every community felt at peace when it was given a governor, it was given a parliament, which we call MCA, and it was given its own cabinet, the county cabinet, and it was given 45% of the resources. So the center ceased to be too attractive because it was all about competition for resources. So devolving resources and devolving power is helping significantly. And of course, the last impact is where you decentralized the center into 3 arms of government. It has merits and demerits, but we created 3 centers of power: the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive, all independent. The only problem is there is no center of power. Nobody coordinates the 3 because they are independent of each other and get their funding directly allocated. But essentially, that diffused the problems we had of strong leaders in Africa. It's systems now. Well, it's a journey we have started. When you said a child to start at the 1, you don't say they are literate. Maybe you may need to wait until they reach Form 4. And if you are very keen about literacy, you may want to wait until they finish university. Then they have been given the power to lead and to do all that pertains to the same, and then they say, this is literate. So we are saying these systems will take time to mature, but the structures are there. We can debate that because our expectations are now and now. But when we wanted to fight disease, what we did was to set hospitals. And hospitals take time before they eliminate and eradicate the disease. When we wanted to fight ignorance, we started schools, and schools start educating generation after generation. And after 50, 60 years, we are now saying the average Kenyan have reached secondary education. So it's the same, these structures eventually. Now, once we set the three, that really doesn't mean the private sector. The environment is conducive, but not enabling for business. So the governments of the East African region embarked on investing on enablers and macro foundations. And that is really infrastructure to ease the cost of doing business. And essentially, that's why you find every country is competing. If you look at Uganda and its ambitions to generate the power from the Nile River, it tells you of their ambitions. And you can see the ambitions outside East Africa in Ethiopia. Look at the grand power plants that they are building. If you look at Kenya, look at the geothermal power generation. And if you look at Tanzania, look at the piping of their gas fields so as to generate power from natural gas. So that so you can see very focused effort to ensure adequacy of power. The second thing is investment in transport and logistics, or communication, most people would like. Every country, Tanzania has the most ambitious railway infrastructure. The central and the southern railway lines, and all, I think, are now at the construction stage. If you look at Kenya, the ambitious standard gauge railway line to Rwanda and Uganda, and the other one to Ethiopia and Juba. Huge projects. And the other one, of course, is the roads. We may not have the same roads that you have in the US, but our economy is also not as big as the US. So moderately, relatively, you can say there is significant improvement in infrastructure. And then, of course, the airports, the ports, massive investment to try and ensure there is sufficient fiber or optic. I think Rwanda leads. I think now it's almost making the whole country 4G public investments so that wherever you are, the whole country is covered and have access to internet at level 4G. You can see that type of ambition is amazing. And the good thing is they have started competing. Now, the biggest challenge of Vision 2030 or 2022 or 2020 is national value systems. How do you get the people to change their value systems, particularly in terms of work ethics, in behavioral practices, and dealing with the vices that has pinned us down before? Whether you call them tribalism, whether you call them corruption, whether you call them accountability, whether you call them transparency, how do you deal with? Because it became a culture. It became a way of life. How do you root out this challenge that is almost embedded in the people's practices? So that remains, the national value systems remain the biggest challenge within. I think the country that has done very well in that area is in the East African region, seems to be Rwanda. Tanzania is coming aggressively. They still need to put institutional framework of dealing with it. Their ambition is very good. Kenya has put the institutional frameworks. It may take a bit longer to get that rooted out from the people's practice. But basically, that's what the dreams have been. But let me do a little bit of a deep dive on those dreams. The dreams is like what we have seen, the distribution, and we shall see in the other countries, the distribution of projects that opens the country. What is at the moment being forecast is equitable development. Those of who from Kenya know about the 1964 blueprint that focused on a third of the country and left 2/3 of the country without the development. If you look at Vision 2030 for Kenya, it's an integrated, equitable development of all parts of the country, as equitable as it could be. Why? To give all people equal opportunities. Because literally, if you don't do that, you skew availability of opportunities. You can see we are here now to expose the opportunities to yourselves. Now, this brings out the first opportunities that you may have. If you left in the early 2000s, you left Kenya, for instance, when only 5 million people were in urban centers. Nairobi had about 2.8, and the rest was distributed in the others. And 23 million people were in rural areas. If you look at it today, we have 17 million people in urban centers and 27 million people in rural areas. By 2030, when this aspiration is meant to be achieved, we shall have 38 million people in urban centers and only 22 in rural areas. In Kenya, it might move faster because of devolved government. The headquarters of the counties have become magnets for rural county migration because they are new centers. They have administrative and local government seats, and they require a whole structure. Now, the question is, how do you provide the requisite infrastructure and economic infrastructure to support such a huge migration? So you can see outrightly the biggest opportunity is to provide housing. So if you have resources, the opportunity to really tap in investment in real estate is that significant, where you are shifting 2/3 of the population from rural areas. Why is the opportunity very big? Because the people coming from rural areas don't have resources to construct real estate. If they come, they only go to the slums, and you find Kibera, Mathare becoming bigger and bigger. If we have needed to transform these, you can't have a transformed economy sitting side by side with Mathare and Kibera. Those slums must disappear. They must be replaced by affordable housing. Affordable housing is not going to be built by the people coming from rural areas. They're coming to look for livelihood. They are straight from school. So essentially, we are talking about billions and billions of shillings in real estate. So if it can't come from the population that is occupying, basically the largest portion here is not for sale, it's for rent. Why? Because that population would take another 5 to 6 years before they could be able to start thinking about buying. It's massive rental streams of income. So it's more of cash flow based investments. And I guess that's a big opportunity for you. The second biggest opportunity is that population, once it comes to Nairobi, it will be living like you here without a farm to go and get foodstuffs at the end of the month. They will start relying and depending on supermarkets. They have to get food from the shelf. And essentially, it can't be raw food. It must be processed food. The probability of feeding this population provides a huge investment opportunity for those who can enter into the food processing industry. Why? Because the population will require processed food. Of course, those who have been in town will shy away from public schools offered by the Nairobi County. They would like, the middle income would like to send their children to better education system. The opportunity to provide private education to the middle income is equally significant. And if you are in the health sector, chances the middle income will not be going to Kenyatta National Hospital. They would prefer to go and see a private doctor. So we can see the biggest opportunity is in the consumption, both of services and products. And because you are even more exposed, we also require basic amenities that needs to be manufactured. The question is, as we urbanize, do we still need to import plates, spoons, and suppliers from China? Exactly. We need to produce there. And if you look, we still import the diapers. Now, this population coming will come to toilets that they have to flush. So you can imagine the amount of household requirement that they require that has to be manufactured. Whether it starts with the tissue paper to provide for 50 million people living in the urban centers, whether it is diapers for that population, because they are not going to be like the old parents, our parents, who left their families in the rural areas and they came to work in Nairobi. Now everybody comes with their family to Nairobi or to whichever center they come. So essentially you could find the amount. You can see the amount of baby soap that will be required. In the next 5 years, if the population, the average age of Kenya is 19 years, let's put in 10 years, that 50% of the population will be marrying and producing children. Just imagine the industry to support child upbringing, how big that industry is. So those are the type of opportunities, but I think the biggest one is food processing. Now, the population has moved from the rural areas. Who will provide the labor to produce agricultural produce? There is not going to be any production unless we mechanize our agriculture. There will be no people to pick tea. And the small-scale tea farmer can't afford a tea-picking machine. There is another opportunity for you to buy a machine to pluck and pick tea. And you just lease it to the farmers because they can't afford. The way our land tenure is, the units cannot support heavy mechanization on an ownership basis. You can't own a tractor when you have 2 acres of land. You can only lease a tractor to come and plow your land for half an hour, and you pay for use. Most of the farmers will pay for use of services. If that is the case, who will provide the value chain of agricultural input and agricultural services? The farmers will not be able to afford to buy a tractor. So we require people who have foresight, people who are globally exposed, people who know how agriculture is organized, where labor is not available with a jebe, a panga, and a hoe. Because your children and my children, too, are not willing to go and dig the way we used to dig, unless yours are willing. So if agriculture is to be practiced of necessity, everybody, so that is the biggest opportunity. And because you are in America, just reflect back when America was urbanizing, when Europe was urbanizing during the agrarian period. What happened? It was the point of transformation. Africa has embarked on the Green Revolution to try and transform agriculture. Urbanization and agricultural transformation will be the biggest drivers of transformation and hence the biggest providers of economic opportunity. And of course, then we require all this. in the urban centers. That population needs to be supported. And maybe in rural areas, we'll also have an opportunity to convert the primary schools and secondary schools into better investment, some of them into factories. If you can understand, I went to Nyagatogo Primary School, and we were 3 streams in the 70s. Nyagatogo's primary school now doesn't feel a class of 40. Why? Because when I was growing up, the average number of children per family was 8. The average number of children per family in Central Province, those come from Central Province, is 2. Oh, 1. No, we are still at 2. I can see here they have gone down to 1, those who come from Central. But you can see, I think Central Province is registered as the region experiencing the fastest decline in the product in the, I think in the world, from 8 to 2. You can see this. And then it is supported by urbanization, migration to urbanization. So it is not just half of them, once they're educated, they relocate to the urban centers. And those who are left, they produce 2. So you can see Nyagatogo now has about 2 classes per stream that are not occupied. I don't know about your village. Oh, it's same. Now you can see the opportunities we are talking about. Those institutions need to be converted into something. They need to be converted into something. So essentially that is the transformation we are going through as a country. I think these are the things that, now, let's look at the big projects. And these projects cut across in the region. The biggest is railway construction. Yes, it is true, all the railways are being built by Chinese. Why? Because our local capital can't support construction of railway lines. Leave alone the entrepreneurs, even the banks are too small for a railway line. This railway line is costing 3.4 billion US dollars, 350 billion. That is equal to almost the deposit base of the big banks. I didn't say loan book, I said deposit base. So we don't have the capability to finance them. And we can't finance them, the local contractors can't. But if you look at these Chinese companies, they can't be getting this ballast from China. Huge opportunity for you to come and own a crusher of ballast. You just need to own one and provide for ballast for one, and then you retire. And you see that value chain. It's not just the crusher. Then you employ outsource a lot of trailers to transport the ballast. And it's also true. If we move to the next level, we don't need these sleepers, railway sleepers, that is made of concrete to be made by the contractor. They can be outsourced. They use the traditional way. Maybe the only thing that might need to come is steel. Everything else needs to be produced from within. But the problem is, nobody in East Africa, and let me talk more about Kenya and Uganda and Rwanda, have seen a railway being constructed. Because the last inch of railway construction was 96. That was the last time we built the Mombasa-Uganda railway line. And we have never added an inch. So how can we know how it is built? But you people see it being constructed every day. You are the only people who can say there are many opportunities in construction of a railway line. I will offer my services to this. But if you look at why? Because you are socialized, orientated, and exposed to a developed world. To us, a developed world is a dream that will be realized by 2030. So the mechanics of that transformation, the things that the infrastructure being built, it's not familiar. We go to see. We don't think there are opportunities that can be involved. We say they are being built by Chinese. But you know, all multinational companies are just logistic companies. They outsource everything. You know it. But we don't know. When we see a contract given to a Chinese, the Chinese are contracting. But in a real world, they don't do anything. They just get the contract and then logistically put actors together. I think if East Africa is to produce actors, the actors are in this room. They are not in Kenya. Look at, again, this international airport, again, an international contractor. But that international contractor does nothing. They just outsource, subcontract everything. Now, let's look at this massive development. You could imagine dueling 6-lane Mombasa to Nakuru. It will look exactly like the highways here. But it will not facilitate local investment the way it is here. We want a road. We don't fully understand a road is an enabler for economic activities. And that is why our petrol stations at home don't look like your petrol stations. Have you ever seen the difference? When we build that railway line, we need the petrol stations to look like these, the ones here. But as if we build, we'll build exactly what we know. I hope you are starting to see the opportunities that can only be filled by you. We can't compete with you. You are socialized differently. You are exposed differently. Completely differently. We get mesmerized when we see these things done. You see opportunities quickly. So essentially, the railway development, you can imagine the standard gauge railway line. How many opportunities it will develop along the 500 kilometers? But we will see, we'll be taking, if you look at the way we present, it will be taking 4 hours from Nairobi to Mombasa. That's the only thing we talk about. We don't talk about the satellite cities that will need to be planted along the railway line to service the traffic being transported or the goods being transported. But you see it that way. So essentially we are saying, and that's why I chose to come and share with you and say, here there is quite a bit that you can help. Look at how our roads look like once they are dual. There is nothing, grass, all along on both sides. But look at what we see in your roads here. You will never see such a clean road on the sides. Never. So we are not, and what are we not doing? We are not anchoring investment into local economy. They just become investment, not they don't catalyze. They don't act as a catalyst to local investment and transformation of local economies. And that is the biggest opportunity there is in East Africa. I think this, let me talk a little bit about LAPSSET, because LAPSSET will be very transformational in region. It has started. The 3 berths in Lamu are out on the way. As we can see, the road from Isiolo to Moyale is now complete. A journey that used to take 7 days is now taking 4 hours to drive from Isiolo to Moyale. And the one from Eldoret, Kitale to Nadabadok on the border to Juba, that has been contracted out. And the one from Lamu to Isiolo has been graded. That is the only section that needs now to be, it's motorable, but not fully to the grade of tarmac. But we have managed to get resources. If you compare that line with the famous line, Mombasa to Busia. If you look at the GDP and economy of Kenya, that corridor around that line, 50 kilometers on each side of the railway line, contributes about 72% of our GDP. Now you can see the big opportunity. You never got RAD on the Mombasa-Busia road, and now it's very difficult to buy. But you can see, your children will ask you, the RAPSET was built when you were in US. You couldn't buy a little bit of the portion? Because essentially we are creating another corridor of opportunities like the Northern Corridor. I want to submit that this corridor will be bigger than the existing corridor. Why? Because if you look to Moyale, it's tapping to Ethiopia, 90 million people. If you put Kenya and Uganda together, which supports the Mombasa-Busia, it's still 80 million people. So that is much bigger on one country alone. So essentially, if then that corridor, as we see, opens up, and ultimately, once we reach Juba, the West African pushes it from Douala to connect with Juba, because you can see it is all landlocked countries. Those landlocked countries need to be opened, and they can be opened by modern infrastructure. Now, what would happen if we manage to do that is exactly what is happening on that photo. That transshipment from Africa is reduced by about 2/3. If you are exporting goods from Kenya to Europe, you have to go first to South Africa. If this corridor is completed, you put the goods on a fast railway line, 2 days, they're in Douala. You save 42 days from a shipment to Europe. Nigeria, the same, if it is selling to India. Look at Nigeria selling goods to India. It has to go down to South Africa. It's almost at the same level, India and Nigeria. But it has gone down to South Africa, and the ship climbs again from South Africa to India. Now you can see if then that corridor is done during our lifetime, or during the lifetime of our children, you could imagine what will happen along that corridor. The investment opportunity to support an overhead bridge, what would happen? Because all African exports will be going through that to India and China, and then to the US and Europe would be going through that corridor. So essentially, that's what we are seeing. But that can only be seen by people like you, who understand what these corridors means. Look at the intercity corridors here. These are not intercity, they are intercountry corridors that we are building. So essentially, it becomes a huge opportunity. That is a proposed Lamu. The port headquarters is complete. The first 3 berths are under construction. The road is motorable, but not on tar level up to Isiolo, but that is slowly going to be done. The first project to be done will be the pipeline. Why? Because the oil is found along that line. The fiber optic will go together with the pipeline on the same trench. So essentially, the region will be completely opened. If the region is completely opened, why would you invest along the existing Mombasa-Busia, which supports 2 or 3 countries, if you can support the whole of African trade along the Northern Corridor? So you can see the pressure that we have been fighting for us to be over. We have opened this road, or this project opens 2/3 of Kenya's economy that had for 50 years been neglected. So if you were not there at independence, or you were not economically strong, now economic independence of 2/3 of the country is coming when you are economically able. So you can invest in the opportunities so that your children don't ask you, you couldn't see? Now, the next one is energy and petroleum. Fortunately enough, the East African countries have realized there is nothing about transformation of countries without sufficient energy. And if you look, for 80 years, Kenya had only generated about 780 megawatts. In the last 9 years, we have increased that to 2,400 megawatts, tripling power generation within 9 years. So essentially there is speed. So if you come home, there is no more power rationing. And two, we have shut down all the thermal generators. So power has come from 24 cents to 12 US cents. So it's not yet competitive. I guess in the US it is 8, but we are not 3 times the way we used to be. We are now 1.5 times. With more and more investment, maybe in the next 3 years, we should be either be at 10 cents or heading towards 9 cents. So it's just about of 2-3 years. Once a country has affordable, reliable, dependable energy, then it can start taking off, because that's a very critical. So there is so much investment. The good thing, you can also mobilize enough resources. Power is no longer a preserve of government, it is a feeder program. You generate, you are given a tariff, you feed into the national grid. And there is no better investment than infrastructure. Those who know what it means, like if you're able to get 30 years of supply at constant hedged. So that is the projected supply. So you can help us to generate that power. Again, huge opportunity. You can see the intersection as power becomes more available, the price is going down as power becomes more generated. So, and there are many areas. Now, there are 2 things that has happened that might facilitate a faster transformation than all of us expected. When all these visions were being formulated, oil and gas were not factored as major resources in East Africa. If you look now, Tanzania is among the 8 most endowed natural gas countries in the world, and it has started using its gas. If you look at Kenya and Uganda, they have commercial oil. It is not the quantity, but the impact oil is likely to have on the structure of the economies. Let's take, for instance, Kenya. Kenya spends 26% of its import bill on only oil alone. What about if Kenya just produced enough for domestic use? It saves 26% of its import. So you could imagine the demand of foreign exchange, what would happen within the economy. And suddenly you see a structure of an economy being completely different. If they're able to export, then the game becomes very different. Very, very different. So essentially, we expect a shot in the arm from these infra. Now, pipeline is being built on private terms, and the government of Kenya is exploring the possibility of making it an IPO. Why? Because this is a better rental investment than real estate. Why? Because the tenant here is oil. It's not the tenants who you'll be saying occupancy is 80%, or will be flowing every day, and you are paid in advance and in dollars. As we said, the next big opportunity is in education. And this is, when I talk about this, I'm talking about even the pipeline being built in Tanzania. Kenya and Tanzania has been competing. Who feeds Uganda with a pipeline for export of its oil? So Uganda is spoiled with 2 pipelines to choose from. And it was very clever for Uganda to do that, because now it has insulated itself from the political risks of individual countries. So the sovereign risk of Tanzania or Kenya is hedged by that dual pipeline. And there is the same, they have played on the same on the railway line. So Tanzania is also building a railway line to Uganda and Rwanda. So essentially, when it comes to university, I'm sure you left only when we had the 3 universities. We now have 27 public universities. Now, you can see all of you are lecturing here. We could declare polytechnics to be university, but we couldn't declare polytechnic staff to be doctors and to be faculty members of universities. So we need massive human capital to staff our 27 public universities. That can't be generated by a country. We are now proposing 1,000 doctorate scholarships every year. But it will take 5 years for the first crop to come back. In this room, there may be 30 doctorates. They are available. I'm a chancellor of a university, but I'm not a very proud chancellor because I have only 4 professors. In this room, I can go home with 15 doctorates. And I could be one of the most proud chancellors, showing the credentials of my faculty. That's how easily you can solve our problems. Now, the problem is compounded. We have 37 private universities. Now, human capital becomes the biggest constraint. And yet, when you look at American universities, the shortest study I have, Kenya has about 2,800 university lecturers in American universities. You can solve half of our problem. The second one is, yes, what do we do with the hostels? The Kenya government have decided to use private-public partnership. He's saying, if you have money, here is a spot in the university, build the hostels. This is the rent we'll pay you for the next 30 years, and then you can transfer to the university. That is the level of opportunities, where rent doesn't depend on tenants. It's contracted for 30 years by the university to provide hostels to. So huge opportunity. Just also look at the supply chain of 37 universities plus 27. Are they 74? Those are 74 universities. Look at their supply chain. The amount of resources distributed about that value chain. Again, it requires sophisticated. It will not take somebody from the rural areas to go and be part of a university supply chain or value chain. It requires somebody who understands what university supply and value chains look like. Now, this is even bigger. You can see the number of children as by compulsory free primary education. While you might be seeing congestion, Chinese are seeing an opportunity to provide a computer to every child. Now, the Kenya government is buying or procuring 1.2 million laptops or iPads for these children every year. Why should we be importing that? For the next 8 years, an assembly line for computers will have paid itself with that type of order, maybe within 2-3 years. You have the skills. Some of you are software developers. If you are software developers, even if you can't build the whole computer, why don't you assemble them in Kenya? And some of you are working for Microsoft. Now, let's sum up this, because we talked about agriculture, the huge opportunity in agriculture, massive. We have talked about the one in real estate. I think industrialization we have talked about, particularly food processing. Let's not talk about sophisticated and complex ones. Even clothing, the good thing, the East African countries have banned the importation of mitumba or second-hand clothes. Now, you ban without any factory to produce this thing. Now, you can see how quickly, what has happened? The Chinese have said, quickly put the railway to Naivasha. Those who don't understand, the reason why we have fast-tracked Naivasha is because they want to set a garment factory there to substitute for Metuba. Why can't you be the ones to set it? We don't want the motor assembly, but you can't do leather and just to give us shoes, just to give us wear. Those ones at least are basic factories in any industrialization. But you can see the level of manufacturing that we have. I think natural resource management, let's particularly look at the opportunity on waste management. When you get 3/4 of the population living in urban centers, you could imagine the amount of waste. If we don't invest here, the piles of garbage will be taller than the skyscrapers in Kenya. If you push that type of population. So you can see the massive investment opportunity, particularly if you make it sustainable. These are the opportunities that have suddenly come. Let's talk about tourism. The only thing that we have managed to do is to manage the natural heritage. Lake Nakuru, what do we own? We own the flamingos. Masai Mara, we own the lions. Serengeti, we own the wildebeest. Ruwenzori, we own the gorillas. And the same with Rwanda. But that, if you look at the value chain of tourism, that is not where we should be acting. We should be acting up the value chain. Why? Because an American tourist coming to see these flamingos pay an airline $1 million shillings for a first-class seat. Then he comes and stays in Serena, in Lake Naivasha. He pays 60,000 shillings per night. But to enter the gate to see the flamingo, he pays $20. How has the money been distributed? What we are asking you, why don't you own the hotels? Well, the country gets $20. You can get the $600 per night. Or better off, you can own a charter company. Then you'll be earning the 1 million shillings per passenger. That's the level of thinking. And it's the same with the tea. I was laughing yesterday. Me, I never take tea in America because it's a constant reminder of me of how poor I am in the value. I'm a small-scale tea farmer. In this hotel, and you can try, that cup of tea is $7. A sachet of 100 grams of tea plus water, $7. I ask myself, how many sachets of 100 grams are there in a kilo? 1,000. I compute 1,000 times 7, $7,000. Then I convert with 102. 714,000 Kenya shillings. Then I remember I'm paid 42 shillings for that kilo of tea. I can't understand how you people continue drinking tea. That's a huge opportunity for you to play in the value chain of tea. Allow James to continue being a producer, but why don't you pick that tea from me? Process, pack, and sell to Sheraton. If they are selling the tea bag for $7, they might give you at $5. And then you can pay whoever else you have used and be left with $3. Then you can get 300,000. At least you have claimed part of the value of the supply chain. But we are in the basic, primary production level. True of tea, true of coffee. And yet, we sent you to this country to understand how they do things. You came here and decided to settle. instead of seeing how things are done and come and teach us. So essentially, that's why I'm here. I'm not suggesting, but I'm suggesting own the value chains. It's better we be exploited by our people because the money remains within the country. It's really wrong because, and this is the tragedy again, that is how agriculture is organized. These railways that are being built, this power that is being generated is the taxpayers' money. We paid for it for many years to come. But who is using the power to do manufacturing? Who is using the power to build residential houses? Again, it will be the same value chain. We, primary producer and provider of electricity, and then the other one uses the electricity to lease out the rental houses to manufacture goods and sell to us. We must change this. And we can't change this with the people you left out there. They were not hungry for opportunities. They are not hungry for opportunities that are being generated in the country. You were hungry for opportunities. That's why you came. So I really urge you to think about these opportunities. And it's true of banking, and we'll see. I will share with you a little bit. All consumer-facing industries are going through a massive transformation. When you double GDP of a country every 7 years, what it means is that the disposable income is doubling for the families, and the middle income start aggregating in huge numbers, and consumption within the economy starts to be huge. So if you are a producer of goods or supplier of goods and services to the middle income, you are lifted by the lift of the GDP. So investing in the 11 publicly listed companies, but you need to analyze which one you are investing in, might give you a very good return. Health, again, most people can afford. But basically, the health of the private sector has also, public sector has improved a lot. Kenyatta National Hospital became the first hospital in sub-Saharan Africa to do a conjoined twin separation. But the doctors have always been there. What was lacking was equipment. Madeira has also now done its first Sicilian operation, things that we couldn't do in our hospitals. So they are properly equipped, but still people want private. Now, ICT, the conservative. The most important thing is the mobile technology. We seem to have a reputation of being front runners in mobile solutions. But you see, as we go into the future, it will be exactly like the genes. I understand the enzyme that helped to formulate the equation or the algorithm of producing genes was discovered in our Rift Valley Lake, specifically Baringo. But Kenya has never produced a gene. You would imagine if we got the royalties, how big the country would have become. So essentially, we need a lot, and every country has a techno city, as we shall see. So huge. Now, I've talked about Kenya, but Kenya is like representing, so if you look, it's the same things that I was talking about, ICT in Tanzania, it's the same environmental, it's the same mining and construction, it is banking, it's mining, exactly agriculture, the same trade, and transport and infrastructure. It's the same like Kenya. So if I talk about real estate, now look at that project. Those are the projects people should be building. Now, these are being built by Chinese. And you are busy building in Boston. And in Boston, you are not allowed to build these type of structures. So your cost of land as a factor is too high. Why don't you come here? Returns here are very high. You build like these ones. Look at this is all in Tanzania. Or in Tanzania, look at their technology city, smart cities. You go to Uganda, it's the same, as we said, agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, IT, mining, agriculture. All is the same financial sector, education, health, energy, manufacturing. So when I was talking about East Africa. So people should not assume I was talking about Kenya. Look at ICT, tourism is the same opportunity. Look at the power. In Uganda, it's all the same like Kenya. Uganda is using hydro, Kenya is using geothermal. So it is which one you want, and you can see the infrastructure is the same development, like this is the bridge in Jinja. Look at the real estate is the same. Look at the hotels that are coming up. There is no difference between that hotel and the Sheraton we are in. But the only difference is this is being operated, is owned and operated by an American. That one is owned and operated by a foreigner in Uganda. And yet there are Ugandans in this room who are managing hotels like this one. Why don't you come and... Hilton leaves you here and comes to set a Hilton hotel in your country. So the same, if you look at Kampala, is exactly the same huge, opportunities, exactly like we were talking about Kenya. If you look at Rwanda, it's the same. It's the same structure like Kenya, rapid global rating to tourism, conferencing, power generation, the same mining, real estate, financial services, manufacturing. So I thought I could use one framework, agribusiness, innovation center is exactly like the, and you can see the type of towns that and buildings that are coming up, exactly like that is now rivaling the Cape Town International Conference Center, and Rwanda has become a hub for conferences. And for that reason, because of this convention center, Rwanda became the first sub-Saharan country to attract a Marriott hotel. Well, imagine, so simply, so the economies, a country with 12 million people attracts the first Marriott before Nigeria with 200 million people. You can see something is happening in East Africa. And this is what we are talking about. These were the forecasts. The reality has changed, but you can see Kenya and Sub-Saharan Africa. Why did I use Kenya? Because it has been the lowest growing in East Africa. All the others are above Kenya. But you can see Kenya the lowest performing. It doesn't mean it's not growing because Kenya is a bigger economy in East Africa. But you can see it's still growing double the average for Sub-Saharan Africa. And as we can see, huge opportunities will give. Look at, because of the initiatives being done, when it comes to power supply stability, the best is South Africa, followed by Rwanda, Kenya, Uganda, and as you can see, Tanzania is not far. So essentially what we are seeing is huge transformation of the East African economy. You can see the currency stability as we were talking about. I think I don't want to go through much of this because it's data, and this will be available to you. But the leadership has started playing. If you look, all this could never have been achieved without leadership changing perception and becoming economically driven. So essentially, we have also achieved a lot in our politics. Not maybe as you would expect, but now let's look at what has happened. Over the last 3 years, these companies have set their sub-Saharan African offices in East Africa. Maybe some of these are the ones you are working for. They leave you here, they go to your country, and your country has become more attractive to them than you. And you have local knowledge, local information, and a nationalistic spirit. This is the biggest proof that I can put forward to you about the transformation, because it's a third party making a decision based on what they see. If you think these are many, you can see. I still have another page, and I haven't exhausted. And these are all the familiar brands that you know. If you look, majority of them are American. Whether it's Vida, whether it's IBM, whether it's General Electric, whether it's Google, it's all American companies. So what we are saying is that, and you can see the global hotels have also started coming. But more importantly is the relevance of the East African region has also changed. The geopolitics of, as regards East Africa has also changed. You can see the high-profile visits that East Africa is receiving. Before you left, we had never hosted this type of leaders. For sure. There were no opportunities. These leaders are not coming because they love us. They are coming to exploit the opportunities they can see. Call it neocolonialism or whatever you want to call it. If you are Tanzanian, ukoloni maboleo. Liberate us economically. That's all that we are saying. If you look, even Pope, the first country to visit is in East Africa. You look, Israel, Japan, Prime Minister, Turkey, Italy, India, South Korea, all in 2 years. And you can see your colleagues here, without telling you, they go to eat ugali and fish at Mama Oriech. The next thing you find is Mike Zuckerberg have used mobile innovations of Kenya and made them global without paying any royalties. Why? Because we come, and because we are very excited to host Mark Zuckerberg, everything he's asking, we are giving him. He signs nowhere. The next thing we see, we are buying the products that we were demonstrating to him to show how bright we were. But you understand patenting. Why don't you save the country or the economy of East Africa? If you look at every flash, now the most interesting thing is now Kenya has overtaken Nigeria and South Africa to become the most preferred investment destination. And this year, the total number of foreign direct investment in Kenya that came into Kenya exceeds the ones that went to South Africa and Nigeria. Now you sustain that for 5 years. You could imagine what will happen to the economy. Why are they coming? Because the government have laid the foundation and paid the burden of infrastructure. Now, the taxpayers' money is laying ground for these companies. This is where you can help us. The taxpayers' money should be laying ground for exploitation by the citizens. And you are the best representatives of the East African citizens, and we can talk. Now, let me add by sharing with you, because Equity operates in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Rwanda. And what we have done is that we decided to invest in this and see whether we can exploit the transformation coming through. When you left Kenya, if you left Kenya 15 years ago, we were number 66 out of 66. We were the smallest banking institution. If you left Tanzania 5 years ago, we were not in Tanzania. If you left Rwanda 5 years ago, we were not in Rwanda. But over the last 4 years, We have gone to Rwanda, and this year will be the third most profitable bank in Rwanda, and number 11 most profitable bank in Uganda, and number 14 in Tanzania. For that number to make some meaning to you, in Tanzania there are 54 banks. And you can see in 4 years, you have become number 14. So essentially, I just want to demonstrate to you that it's not a theory. These opportunities are being turned into investment opportunities. And so let's go, I'll try to be, that is the equity you left in Kagema, Buraradia, and Kereaine, with all of you. It was not even a bank. It only became a bank in 2005. So 2005 and 2016, we are talking about 11 years. Let's see the work of 11 years. That is how the graphs looked like. Deposits, 31 million. Loans, 12 million. That is the total, not the individual loans. And you can see the graphs for profit and capital are upside down. Why? Because it was losses. And of course, eroding solvency of, and we just did the philosophies the way you do them here. This is what you do here. Visions, purpose, we emulated you. And it created the values. But look at what has happened. From 2005, from 200,000 customers, Equity now has 11 million customers to rank the biggest bank in number of customers in Africa. Why? Because East Africans now have some money they can keep in the bank. And you know what? We exploited the opportunity of the colonial banks, or the multinationals, as you'd like to call them, to be politically correct. They only wanted high level. We said we'll bank everybody. What they didn't realize is total revenue is a function of price times quantity. They have always focused on price, high price, and not only remained with a small queue. We decided let's lower price and increase quantity. The sum total, as we shall see, is a massive transformation of Equity. Look, in 2003, when the vision started, we had only 3 billion shillings. As we speak, September, 331 billion shillings of depositors' funds. I don't know, how many times are those in 10 years? 100 times. So you're almost growing 10 times every year, compounded. Equity is not manufacturing customers. No. It's the economy creating customers and we seeing opportunity. And that's the opportunity I would like you to see. If you look at loans, from 1 billion to 271 billion, another 270 times in 10 years. Now see the defect. From the losses, we were seeing upside down graphs. 100 million in 2003 to 24 billion shillings profit last year. I don't know how many times. If you divide 24 billion by 100 million, I don't know whether it's 240 times or 2,400 times. That is what is happening in East Africa. I'm only giving Equity because I understand it. If it was Bob Collymore standing here, he would tell you about Safaricom. Safaricom is only 16 years old, and it's bigger than Equity. So it is true, not only of Equity, and there is a man nodding there that I can see. He was also borrowing small in Equity. we were giving him a small loan of 70,000. Now he has a loan of 3 billion shillings. There he starts. And what is he doing? What is he doing? He is providing houses to those who can afford houses. The transformational opportunity is supplying goods and services to the citizens of East Africa. If you look at total assets, from 4 billion to have 1 trillion. Now, you say American companies are big. Kenya's total budget is 2.2 trillion. When we control half 1 trillion shillings, Equity is controlling a quarter of a budget of a country. Relative to, tell me how many American companies control a quarter of, that is the opportunities we are seeing. And you have generated these in 10 years. Huge opportunity. So look at shareholder. From the losses, we were seeing negative 33 to 82 billion shillings. Giving equity, the bankers in the room will tell you, you can lend up to single lending limit is 25%. So you can see we can lend now individual borrower 20 billion shillings. So when you come, you can count on us. If your ambition is big, we can give you up to 20 billion shillings without syndicating. And by the end of this year, because we will still make beyond 25 billion, most likely we will have reached 100 billion. We can lend you 25 billion. That's what is happening in the East African region. Now, look at the equity you saw in the first slide, and look at the new equity, the transformation. The brand has changed, and that is why we are banning Mutubas. Mutubas was relevant then. Now it's no longer relevant. We can dress with dignity, with new clothes. And it's the same, you can see, we can put red carpet in the branches so that the customers can step on them. Alex, if you are near, can you put slide number 1 so that people can compare? Just look at that. When you come home, this is your branch. I don't know whether your diaspora, your branch here looks like this, that you see it. No. So now you can see how transformative. If you look at this brand, Alex, the slide of Kagema and Kereaine. Now look at this so that you have this in your mind, and then compare it with this. Maybe the last press, the look of the headquarters now. Kagema used to be the headquarters. Kagema is the lower one. The other one is Muraradia and Kereaine, those who come from those regions. We have captured this for history. Press the headquarters. Now look at the headquarters that compares to Kagema. So take me back to where I was. But I just wanted you to see the contrast. Sometimes you have to compare and contrast for you to see the reality of transformation. Because time sometimes, so essentially, let's talk about, we have talked about growth. But I'm not asking you to come for growth. I'm inviting you to come and partake to the wealth being created. Let's look at the wealth that Equity has created during the years that you have been away. 2000. If you, and I'm sure a few of you had bought Equity shares, if you came from that region, one share was selling at 20 shillings. Because of the rapid growth that started, by 2000, we did a split, 1 to 3. So the one share became 4 shares. By 2004, when the momentum got really tough, we did a bonus of 1 to 5. The one share became 20 shares. 2007, the heat of transformation, we did another split. That retained earnings to become 81 billion, we did another bonus of 1 to 3. That one share became 60. And in 2009, we did a split 1 to 10, and the one share became 600 shares. That graphs we were seeing hockey stick, it was wealth that was being generated. So the person who had one share worth 20 shillings, by 2014 was the proud owner of 600 shares, each trading at 50 shillings, a total value of 30,300. I don't know whether in Boston you are able to transform 20 shillings to 30,000 shillings in 10 years. That's the opportunity we are talking about. Because sometimes it has to be put in numbers. What is the growth rate? The mathematicians in the room will tell you the value change and growth is 151,000%. And that is because of this. Look at how the growth was. Every 5 years, the bank was growing tenfold. Remember we talked about the tenfold compounded growth rate. And that's how you could move from 3 billion to 371 billion in deposit. We can see the numbers here, the same numbers. Look at the profit, from -4 to 10 million to 55 million to 1.1 billion to 12 billion to 24 billion. Every 5 years, you are growing 10 times. So essentially, that's the opportunity we are seeing. Now, if you look the people who entered in equity in 2004 when the growth started, they have reaped 600 shillings, 600 shares. But if you came in 2004, you have only got 10 shares. Timing. Now, the issue is, as this transformation takes place, at what point will you enter into the market? Because that will determine the wealth you create. I will give you a good example. 10 years ago, an acre of land along Thika Road was about 200,000 shillings. Today, simply because of construction of Thika Road, an acre is 50 million shillings. So it's not only equity. Everything need double. If you look at land in Lamu, an acre of land in Lamu used to be 5,000 shillings, 500 shillings. Now to compensate the people for the port, we were doing 2 million shillings per acre. Development and transforms opportunities. But it's at what point you enter. And then look at how third parties say. This is Business Daily on 10th of May, 2015. And look at the date. The date is very important. 10th of May, 2016. Foreigners push Equity Bank stock past KCB at the Nairobi Stock Exchange. And you can see they list their market capitalization. Equity 150 billion, KCB 120. Who, when you left Kenya, would have imagined Muiganania, Equity Building Society, beating KCB? Even if you could imagine that, look at where Barclays is, 57 billion. Equity is 3 times the size of Barclays Bank and 2.5 times bigger than Standard Bank. But I wanted you to look at the date of 10th May. Look at 30th June. 30th June is 40 days after. The foreigners kept on pushing equity up. That was 30th June, the same year. Equity market cap had hit 143 billion. And KCB was at 99 billion. And Barclays had become 53, 3 times. Those are the opportunities. What is the difference? I want to give credit to my leadership team. is the leadership team, and we will look at the leadership team. Now, the difference between us back at home and you is the same. The quality of leadership you can give is because of the 20 years of training you have made here at the great companies and great leadership. If you look at the biggest weakness with family and private businesses in Kenya, is still leadership. And essentially that's where the difference, you can make a huge difference bringing your skill home. As a result, Equity decided to use part of the money in giving back to develop the future of the country. We decided to do something about what all of us have been complaining about leadership. We studied our leaders and realized all of them went, most of them, whether it's James Orengo, my friend, or Mike Kibaki, your friend, they either went to Alliance or to Mangu. And we said, okay, so the best will young end up being leaders. Then we looked at that theory and we realized everybody gives way to the best. We decided we would take the best girl and the best boy in all the district of Kenya, put them together, challenge them, mentor them for a year, sponsor them to university. 10% of them sent them to here to the US, where we have nearly 400, 293, and see what will happen in 30 years to come. If Tom Mboya Airlift could produce Senior Obama, produce Professor Wangari Maathai, produce Engineer Raila Odinga, produce Mike Bakeradan School of Economics, what about if we did this in mass, but this time look at Ivy League schools? What would happen to the country? I want to say under that program now, we have 5,400 kids. And out of that, another 393 are in Ivy League schools. Then we realized that is very good. But when we analyzed those children more, we realized none of them came from very destitute families. We asked ourselves, why, how comes? And we realized very poor kids don't go beyond free primary education. They're not able to transit to secondary education. So we said, why don't we pick the best in every district? So we formed a program called Wings to Fly. And Wings to Fly gives every district 25 scholarships. The district constitutes 13-member board, and they select the best children. They have 13 girls and 12 boys based on performance, but also poverty index, such that if they are not paid for, they are not sponsored, they will not go to PRIM. So far, we have 12,477 children under the Wings to Fly. If you check on 9th of January, we'll be sponsoring another 2,000. We sponsor 2,000 every year. What we have seen is these kids are amazing in their own light. Amazing in the sense, the last 3 years, we have had Wings to Fly kids do their secondary education. 92% every year have qualified for university admission, and 80%, all of them go to university. The comparative number for the national scores is 27, only 27%. And the number of kids that actually get admitted is only 12%. You can see this, they're admitted 8. So essentially, that's the contribution. This is an insurance. If you refuse to come back home or to invest home, we hope these ones who will learn from you will come back. That's the only condition, that they can work here for 5 years and then come back home. It's important to work here, let me tell you, because work ethics, practices, exposure, orientation, and environment are completely different. You can come and help us, but staying here forever and only come when you feel you can't be able to do anything, you are not helping. You really represent a permanent brain drain, but you can turn yourself into a brain gain for your country at the right point under the right terms and conditions. And these are the conditions I came to show you, the economic conditions, the economic opportunities. I want to give you a sample because Boston, you have been very generous to us. I think Harvard and MIT together has about 50 of our 393 children. Unfortunately, most of them were doing exams today and have exams tomorrow and Monday, so we couldn't bring all of them. The essence of bringing them is twofold. One, you get to know them. The second one is you adopt them. Not to pay fees, we'll continue with the scholarships, but you adopt them as a foster mother or a foster father. These children need more than education. I was very impressed when the person who opened with a word of prayer showed me he still has an identity, a Swahili identity. We don't want these kids to lose their identity. Cultural disorientation. And if they're in a class where they're only Kenyan, then it most likely they will never speak Swahili or their mother tongue. And they might, after 4 years, they might have forgotten everything. But if they join your families, they will be able to retain their culture and their identity as African people. They are not the black Americans, they're Africans in America. So, I don't know, why don't you join me here? Very good. I'll give them each a chance to greet you, and then I will not allow them to go back to this table. They distribute themselves. You invite them to your table so that the process of adoption can begin. Whatever you want to say.
Hi, my name is Nita Nsongo. I come from Kenya. I study math and computer science at MIT, and I'm in my 3rd year.
You could have told them which secondary school you went to, or primary also.
Oh, so for secondary school, I went to Buruburu Girls High School. Yeah, and for primary school, so I come from Nairobi. Part of it, I went to Nairobi, but then from grade 5 to 8, I went to St. Andrew's Kagwa Girls in Kisii. Yeah.
During your time when you were coming, could Buruburu Girls send somebody to MIT? Now that is the change Equity has introduced with this program. It's no longer, and that's why I told them that Domre to give you the schools. You see, it's a shift and huge transformation in the country.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Wayne Frederick Nyabuto. I come from Kenya. I go to Amherst College. It's in Massachusetts. And I'm thinking of majoring in computer science and economics. I went to St. Mary's School, Yala. Yeah. And my primary school was called Tabaka Academy. It's in my hometown. Thank you. It's in Kisii. Thank you.
I may say something about when President Uhuru was commissioning this team of 65 to come during their year. They really laughed at him and said, you know, Mr. President, we are going to your alma mater school. And I'm glad to say Amherst, where President Uhuru went, we now have 6 kids under this program.
Hello. My name is Cherry Kandie. I come from Kenya, of course. I went to Kenya High, and I go to Dartmouth right now, and my major is comparative literature and linguistics.
Hi, My name is Daniel Getega. I go to Harvard University. I am studying electrical engineering. I am a sophomore now. I studied in MCK Academy in Kawangware and high school. And I went to Maranda High School.
You can see, during your time, would Kawangware send somebody to Harvard? Now, that is the power of this program. Yesterday we were laughing at Atlanta. A guy came and said, from Dadora, day school. Can you imagine a day school in Dadora sending somebody to California? It's called what? Berkeley, California. It's a huge transformation. So it's not only infrastructure, it's opportunities. And you can see here heavy courses. So you have engineers to hire because you have the money now. Here is the labor.
Hi, my name is Kelvin Muriuki. I'm a fourth-year student at Harvard College, and I'm also the leader of Equity Global Scholars Association. So it's an association that brings together all the scholars in the U.S. Studying in different colleges across the U.S. So when Dr. James mentioned that we really need you guys to be the host parents to these kids, I was like, yeah, I wanted to say that. So thank you very much. I study stem cell biology at Harvard College, and hope to go into pharmaceuticals later. And in terms of home, I'm from Nyeri, a place called Karatina. I went to Karima Boys High School, and I went to Tomotomo Primary School. Probably none of you have heard of those places, but yeah, I'm really honored to be in this place today. Thank you.
Now, the reason our chairman is here, Karima, and Harvard, you can see the connection. But basically, the reason why I said is that we're doing something I felt was not light. We organize these kids to come home every summer, but it's not, sometimes they have shorter holidays. It will be good for them to spend time with you. With the chairman here, you just need to give a list, and he can assign you a child to come and spend a week with you. It has also, we have been thinking, and it has not been very good. Like now, we assembled all of them during the Thanksgiving week for 2 days. You were where?
We were in Philadelphia. We were in UPenn.
In UPenn. You can see they are meeting in colleges. So we are saying, why can't we be assigning these kids to Kenyan families during the Thanksgiving week, so that they really are developed by parents. So the chairman is here. The chairman, you can go and take this seat after, so that you sit with the chairman and you agree how to do it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mary Ann Chege. I go to Harvard College, and I'm studying medical anthropology. For primary school, I went to Bishop Palo in Murang'a, and for high school, I went to Moi Girls Eldoret.
Hamjambo. Okay, my name is Caroline Kimeto. I come from Kericho, Kenya. I'm studying at Harvard, studying economics. I went to Mary Hill Girls High School, and for primary, I went to Kericho Primary School. Thank you.
Now, I hope you have also seen equal opportunities. This program is so powerful that although we take them a one boy, one girl, when it comes to going to Harvard or MIT, we still find it's 50-50. We have completely reversed the old mindset that we have in the country, and we hope by the time they are 40, we'll see this kind of face in the corporate world in Kenya. But they need to be, again, inculcated, and leader, this is a huge role. If truly, particularly if you don't want to come home, why don't you nurture this one to come on your behalf? So show them about America. Let's put our hearts together for the young one. None of you is coming to this table. Go and find where to sit. And none of you to sit too So, chairman akae hapa. Here. So, thank you very much. Oh, you have an exam? Oh, thank you. Well, that one is saying she only wanted to say hi. She wants to be excused. She has an exam. Let's allow her to go and prepare her for her exam tomorrow. That was that's the other one when they were being commissioned as they come to the bank. This is when they are joining the Wings to Fly. This year, Wings to Fly got 3,000 kids to sit for Kenya Secondary Certificate of Secondary Education, or Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. But more importantly was the realization that most Kenyans pretend they understand the issue of money. But we realized from our interactions in the bank, Kenyans don't understand money and they don't understand finance. Why? Because we came from a peasantry economy to a commercial environment without transition arrangement. So somebody comes to the bank and is borrowing and you see the negotiation. We decided for fairness and transparency and fair practices, we'll train as many Kenyans as want on a 13-week global training program on financial literacy. So these are people graduating. So far we have trained 1.3 million Kenyans on this training program. And these are the programs. It's an expensive program. So far we have spent $221 million over the last 5 years, but we can tell you the impact is amazing. It's about 23 billion shillings, but the impact is very, very significant, as we have seen. A Kenyan child from any part of the country now can end up at Harvard. It doesn't really require to be. Now, it is not just what we saw of creating wealth, but East Africa is starting to build champion global brands. We know of M-Pesa, all of us, and how it is celebrated. Equity is another celebrated brand globally, and as we shall see. So it's not just wealth. It is ceased to be a bank, now it's a group. We have 13 companies, 6 banks, one in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, South Sudan, and DRC Congo. But we have another 6 insurance company, brokerage, investment bank, and consulting. And that, as you can see, is the face of the board of Equity Bank. It's completely different from maybe the one you left. We have decided to globalize. Now, if you look at the globalization we have taken, part of it is like David Ansel there. Look at the man here. He's an American. You can see we come to America to borrow a former managing director of Citibank to come and show us really, but yet we have a lot of Kenyans who have worked for Citibank for 20 years, who would then not only bring the Citibank knowledge, but local knowledge. And this is really, you can see the struggle the Kenyan companies are doing. A few who have come back, like the third gentleman at the middle there, Adil was, Popat was at Wharton Business School. We are tapping onto his knowledge. If you look at the next page, Lohan was at Stanford. Isis Nyong'o was at Stanford. You can't substitute knowledge with anything else. And that is what the diaspora can bring quickly. Huge, massive knowledge. Because when you start looking at it at home, if you look at, and it's an East African team. If you look at Patrick there, he used to be the finance director of MTN, Rwanda. If you look at Evelyn here, number 2 used to be the Auditor General in Rwanda, the lady at the second lady there. So essentially we are tapping talent from all over. The diaspora, it's not only equity that requires talent. Any company that can make meaningful strides require very gifted people. Why? A company can never be better than its leadership. A company is a mirror reflection of its leaders. And that's why Equity has been able to overtake all the banks in East Africa. Why we build a leadership team that was second to none. And so quickly, Equity within 10 years reflected these leaders that we are putting up here. And suddenly, we have created the bank that we have talked about. So if you look at management, now this is where I want to focus on. If you look at management, here is a problem. Board, you can get people from East Africa because one can serve in 20 boards. But when it comes to management, full-time job, it becomes a problem. Why? Because look like roads. For almost 20 years, we never built a road in late 80s and 90s. So people could leave Nairobi University, employed by the Ministry of Public Work, but never build a road, and they retire after 24 years. So even when you start building roads, can you use them? No. And it's the same problem we had with doctors. You produce doctors, but they go to hospitals, there is no equipment. You bring equipment, then you start retraining them all over again. And essentially, that is the problem you can solve in development, because the most scarce resource is human resource in the region. Now, that scarcity has affected equity significantly. This gentleman used to be managing director of a South African bank. The question is, why can't we get a Kenyan instead of a South African? Because a Kenyan knows the Kenyan ways, can speak the Kenyan language, can practice the Kenyan culture. If you look at this gentleman here, he's from Guyana, Latin America. When you look at Rohit there, we have got Rohit all the way from India. If you look at Alexi, if you look at his second name, which I'm not able to pronounce very well, you quickly realize he's a Russian. Now, the companies in East Africa requires the skills and the competencies in this room. But when we put these jobs, because we advertise these jobs in Financial Times and what else? An Economist. The Kenyans don't apply. They don't want to come home. Home changed. That is why a Russian can see it attractive and come to work for Equity. That's why somebody from Guyana, that is why somebody from India, somebody from South Africa would come. The time for Kenyans diaspora to be turned into a brain drain is now. You don't have to work for government. The companies are there. But the better thing is not to come and work, is to set the companies, because you know the how. We will give you the capital. We'll give you the funding to complement what you have. If you look further there, again, the first gentleman there, here, is from Jamaica. Now, a Jamaican coming to work at Equity and leaving Kenyans in Boston. The next one is from Philippines, a Filipino, all the way from Philippines. There must be something you are not seeing. They are seeing. The environment has changed. When you left, you couldn't be able to assemble this type of Manfred. The other one there is from South Africa. So the opportunities have become huge. Philip here is from Germany. Why? Because the country got drained. The very most promising people. Kenya has about between 3 and 4 billion people in the diaspora. It didn't take the worst. It most likely took the cream. That's why they are all faculty in universities here. Now it starts taking off. Labor becomes a problem. And the Kenyans with the experience refuses to come back, believing Kenya is still where they left it. Kenya changed. If nothing else, take the message home that Kenya changed. And if it changed, you came here because you never liked what you saw. Now if you come, you like what you see. And hence, it is unfortunate for Equity to hire 50% of its management team from outside. And we advertise in, and the reason why we advertise in the financial and the Economist is simply to attract Kenyans in the American diaspora. It's only one we saw from Atlanta applying. But yesterday we got a data scientist. We have been looking for a data scientist. We found a Ugandan. And we almost spent a whole night negotiating with the Ugandan to come home because we are digitizing banks. Once you digitize, you require algorithms to make decisions. That is the role of data science. We don't have a data scientist at the moment living in Kenya, but you can see they are here, living in America. And we keep on. So essentially what we are saying is that it's imperative you help. Look at case studies, and I want to invite you to download these case studies. Equity has 23 cases, including Harvard, Stanford, ISA, Lago, Columbia, that you could read. MIT has also one that you could be able to look at and understand what has happened in the region. That's partners with Equity. But let me end up by going statistical a little bit. And how many bankers are in the room? Bankers, very good. About 7 or 8. So they understand what I'm talking about. We in the banking world, we are ranked by a magazine called The Banker. It ranks the top 1,000 banks in the world. Equity in that magazine is now ranked the 837th largest bank in the world. But thank you for clapping. But the clap after I tell you the whole truth. What we brag ourselves about is in the 1,000 listed banks, Equity is ranked the 43rd most stable and solid bank in the world in terms of ratios. For investors, we are ranked for 2 consecutive years the bank with the best return on assets. So if you are investing, you can see very few stocks in Boston can give you the return that Equity can give you. What does that return mean? It is a return for the accountants in the room, 6% return on asset and 35% return on equity last year. That's how the 24 billion was being made. Credit rating, bankers understand, a AA+ rating of the bank. And if you look at the banker again, most innovative bank in Africa and the best mobile banking service bank in Africa. African investor, Equity, brokerage, the best investment banker in Africa, and Euromoney 2016, Africa best bank, Africa, not Kenya. And you can see, so it is easier if you want to work for the best bank in Africa, it's not in South Africa. It's in Kenya and East Africa because we are, Now, this is home, think business. And you can see in the 13 categories that we were competing for, Equity was either number 1, number 2, the worst area it performed, it was number 3. It was ranked overall the best bank in Kenya, the best tier 1 bank. There are only 5 banks in tier 1, the big banks, and the best SME bank, the best retail bank, and the best microfinance bank. So banking with us, you'll be banking with the best bank in East Africa. But more importantly, banking with us, you'll be sponsoring these kids, the wings to fly, and the ones we saw here. That's the customers who do that. If it was not for our customers, we would not. That's transparency in financial reporting. A Global Vision Award, we won the Global Vision Award in 2007. implemented. We became the African Innovation Leader, or the Forbes African Person of the Year 2012, and Ernst & Young World Enterprise of the Year 2012. These are, because of that credentials, these are some of the people we relate with constantly, being put, like Obama's Initiative for Global Development, being put on the board. These are the boards that we have been given a chance to serve in, simply because of the accomplishments of equity. What are we saying? You can form global companies in East Africa. Time has come for East Africa to start building global enterprises. You work for global enterprises, some of you. It is important to come and build global enterprises that are owned and with their headquarters in East Africa. And we really want to invite you as East Africans. Why? Because the environment is conducive and enabling as we saw. So I want to stop there, allow you to ponder. But if you make the decision to come back to East Africa, I also want to ask you to pick Equity as your financial partner. We can give you up to 20 billion shillings to realize your dream, so that funding is not the problem. We remove the funding. And we also wanted to encourage you to be bold to invest, even with borrowed money. I've always told the people, and that's why we have grown our own that much. I always tell the farmers, pick money and go and buy a cow. After all, if you don't pay, Equity will come for the cow. It can't come for anything else. Security is the investment you are making, isn't it? And since you didn't have the cow before the loan, so even if it is taken away, you lose nothing. And most likely, you'll have drunk milk for 8 months. So there's quite a huge opportunity. So if, for whatever reason, you come and take some money to invest in real estate, and it doesn't work out, you lose nothing. Why? You didn't have the real estate before. And you'll be left with the rent you have collected. So essentially, we need to be bold and audacious in terms of investment. And once again, I want to say we can give you up to $200 million, single lending limit. So take advantage of it, and let's do the investment. And if you can also help us to make Equity better, we would like to receive you warmly so that we start substituting these people from Jamaica with Kenya. Thank you very much. And so thank you. It's very humbling. Thank you very much. I now want to invite one of you who have agreed to return. 1 year, 6 months ago, Patrice, who was a banker here for 19 years, decided to come and join Equity Bank. And we said, set the diaspora bank. That's why we have not been here for 10. We have been developing the appropriate banking services for you. So it's being provided by one of you. He'll introduce himself better, but give him maximum 15 minutes to tell you how he can support you. Thank you.
Good evening, guys. Habari zenyu. I should ask our colleagues from the region so they can teach me how to say that in the other languages. So forgive me. So as Dr. Mwangi said, my name is Patrice. I'm in charge of the diaspora business. And so my journey is not unique. I moved to the US when I was younger. I did most of my high school here. I used to live in Los Angeles, went to college there, decided to get into work. I went to business school, never had any intention of moving back home. And then through discussions like this and forums like this, made the decision that I was going to go back home and take advantage of those opportunities. and remove one of the Jamaicans that you saw on the board. I think the one that was there before was a Jamaican, but I could be wrong. So we want to urge you to take advantage of those opportunities, whether it be through actually taking the step I took and moving back home, or whether it be through investments within the East African region. Now, thank you for the warm invite to come to Boston. It is a bit chilly for us. I actually wanted to come up here with my jacket, but I was told that would be rude. We've been making our way from Los Angeles, as Dr. Mwangi said. We were there on Thursday, and we've been making our way east. I was in charge of the itinerary, and I've learned we should not have been going from the hot weather to the cold weather. It may have been better to be going the other way around, but thank you for having us here today. So now that you've been made aware of these investment opportunities that exist, my role is fairly simple. It's really to say, how do we as a bank support you to take advantage of that? And that's where diaspora banking comes in. So the idea behind you work and live here in the US, but you need a banking partner that can support you in Kenya. So the journey, the relationship with us obviously begins with the deposit account, and we've made that relatively easy for you to do. You can do all that online. I'll go over a few of our of the platforms that we've developed online. As Dr. Mwangi said, we took the time to listen to your needs and understand them, and then develop the systems and the capabilities that are designed to really serve you better. And so that's where the online platforms come in. So we have a self-service platform. We have an online banking system, which is a transactional system. We have a mobile application called the Easy Banking app, which I'll go over with you. And then you can obviously also reach out to us via email. And that's how you can begin the relationship with us if you are not currently one of our clients. We also support deposit accounts in all major currencies that you see listed there, and more than likely about 10 others. The self-service portal is one I want to start with because it's one of our newest functionalities. Getting set up on this profile is very, very easy. It's almost as easy as setting up a Facebook account. You don't currently need to be a client of the bank. As you can see, the URL at the bottom, diaspora.equitybankgroup.com, that's where you would go, create a profile. This allows you to begin the relationship. You can open an account directly online without actually reaching out to us. You can manage your account from here. You can buy stocks. You can sell stocks. You can apply for loans. You can apply for insurance products. You even have access to some of our money transfer. Some of the services we offer from a money transfer standpoint. You have access to them all on this self-service portal. I urge you to check that out and then give us feedback on that. EasyNet, this is our online banking system. So this is the transactional system that allows you to, it's very similar to the online banking systems that you have available to you out here. I worked within some of the largest banks here in the US. I worked at Wells Fargo and I worked at Bank of America, and so the functionality that we're trying to bring to you is similar to the functionality that you have available to you within your banking systems here in the US. Again, just like with our self-service portal, you can begin a relationship directly from this online banking system if you're not already a customer. Getting that set up is very easy. You just need your ID, name, mobile number, email address, very basic things. We've built in all our systems, and this is why I showed this slide. We've built in a two-system authentication factor within all our systems. So really all you need is username, password, and then as long as you have your mobile phone with you, we'll send you a one-time PIN to that phone. So you need those three with you: username, password, and your cell phone with you, and then you can authenticate yourself that way. This is some of the functionality that we've built into the online system, which is a transactional system. There's over 350 features that are built into it. You can transfer money to any mobile wallet. You can transfer money within the East African region. You can set bill pays. If there's a transaction that you need to take care of, say on the 5th of every month, You can go in and schedule that transaction all within the system. You can view your statements and print them here. You can apply for loans. You can buy stocks. You can set savings goals. The sky is the limit with what you can do on this online banking system. The app. How many of you have a smartphone in this room? How many? Raise them high. No, you can't say all of us. We were in, I think we were in a city a few days ago, and I saw a few Mulika Muizis in the room. For those of you that don't know what a Mulika Muizi is, it's not a smartphone. I think that's the best way to describe it. So go to the Apple Store or go to the Google Play Store. Type in Easy Banking app, as you see on the screen. EAZZY Banking app. You'll find our app there. So I'll go through what that app can do. But again, EAZZY Banking app, Google App Store, or I think it's iOS App Store or the Google Play Store. So this app allows you to, just like all our other systems, begin the relationship with us if you don't already have one. So you can actually open an account directly from the app, and it shows you what you need to do that. This app allows you to send money to, again, just like our online banking system, send money to mobile wallets, to other bank accounts, to do bill pays. One of the features that you see, and I don't know how to use the little pointer, but one of the features that you see at the bottom, it says WhatsApp Connect, Facebook Friend and WhatsApp Connect. This app actually allows you to send money to someone else through WhatsApp, as long as you have that contact on your phone. Now, I looked at my Bank of America app. I didn't see that there. So if you see that there, please let me know. So we're trying to build as much functionality as we can within all our systems to make banking more relevant to you and to make it easier for you to do business with us. This app allows you to send, to buy goods and services. Here's how this becomes relevant. All of us in this room, every now and then, and it used to happen to me when I lived here, we get a phone call from someone back home and they say, send me 10,000 shillings. I need to go to the shop and buy something. Now, we all know they don't need 10,000 shillings, right? But we can't prove that. So we send 10,000. Maybe they only needed 3,000. And the rest is cost of doing business. With this app, all you need to do is ask them for their till number. Tell them, go to the shop. Give me the till number. You can pay directly from the app. So then you only really need to send 3,000. Well, maybe there's a small, 30 bob charge for doing that, but it's not 7,000 shillings, right? Now, the money that you save, obviously, we make sure that you save that in your savings account. We'll keep it safe for you. And you can also buy equity shares, obviously, with that extra 7,000 bob. But that's a functionality that we're building into our online systems. You get real-time stock updates through the app. You get, you can also see how the currencies are doing, and then you can create savings goals. So just like with our online banking system, you can create savings goals. If you want to, there's something you want to invest in the future, you just go in and you create savings goals. Now, once a relationship is beginning, or if you already have a relationship and you're trying to figure out how to move money, these are some of the money transfer partners that we have, and we're constantly adding to this list. And there's some that are actually not on this list. And so many of these partners allow you to send money directly to your bank account, not just in Kenya but in the region, and they allow you to send money to mobile wallets. And so every day we try and identify who are the partners out there that are making it easier and more cost effective for you to move money into the East African region, and then we approach them and we partner with them, and we try and bring that efficiency back to you. And so one of the more exciting ones is PayPal. We're the only bank in East and Central Africa that has an exclusive relationship with PayPal, where we can allow you to link your PayPal account to your Equity Bank account, and you can move money from within the PayPal ecosystem into Equity Bank. So this actually allows you to, on this end, you can move money into PayPal. You can link it to your bank account and fund it. We also allow you to link it on the other side and actually withdraw from PayPal, or rather move money from PayPal into Equity Bank. And and the transactional cost is much lower than anything else that you'll find out there. So I urge you to check that out. You can access this PayPal service from within the self-service, from within the Diaspora Banking self-service portal. Investments, right? So we've heard about investment opportunities. We want to take advantage of them. We want to build that hotel. We want to build that school. We want to build a clinic. If you don't have enough capital to do it, or if you choose to borrow a capital from us, we can partner with you from a debt standpoint. You can access the loan applications from within our self-service portal or from within EasyNet. We have a fast approval process. Within about 5 days, we can get loans approved. You actually don't need to fly from Boston to come to us for that. We do everything over the phone. And the type of mortgages that we offer and that we've customized, or the type of loans rather, are mortgage loans if it's a fully developed property that you want to buy. Construction loans, you have a plot and you want to build it, you want to put some apartments, you want to put some hostels, we can work with you on that. And then plot purchase. We've got one of our real estate partners in the room, Optiven, and so and if there's a plot you want to buy and you need to finance that, you can come to us for that. And we offer financing in USD, so you can borrow in Kenya shillings or you can borrow in USD. Really the choice is yours. And so definitely one of the more exciting, one of the products out there that we're seeing a lot of our customers taking advantage of. Custodial services, you want to invest in the stock market, you want to buy and sell shares. Again, our online systems allow you to get in there. If you have a custody account, you can link it. If you do not have one, we can open a CDS account for you. And then instantly you start buying and selling, and doing that online without really having to reach out to us, without having to call us for that. From an insurance standpoint, we offer healthcare facilities. You can take care of your loved ones back home. We have an online application. You go in, you say, I want to apply for health insurance for my parents back home, and then we'll reach out to you and take care of that. We offer other type of insurance services, both on the asset on the asset side, if you have a vehicle. On the property side, we have a last expense cover that we just rolled out, and then life insurance. Easy Chama. So, how many in this room are in a Chama? So this is, I expect a bit more participation than the smartphone question. How many people are in a Chama? Okay. Those of us in a Chama, which is an investment group, we organize ourselves in groups. We meet regularly. We decide we'll save some money, $50, $100 every single month, and we'll put it in a kitty somewhere, and then one day we'll figure out where to invest that back home. That's kind of the whole idea behind the Chama. With every Chama, there's always one or two people that never make their contribution on time, right? And they require constant reminders and phone calls and threats and bodily harm right before they make that contribution. And month over month, we're doing that every single month. And you're wondering, why is this person in this group? Easy Chama allows you to manage that whole process. Easy Chama is online banking for Chamas. So basically, how it works is you go in, register the group, you give it a name, you put in the details of all the people in the group, phone number, email address, and all that. You list in what the contribution amount should be every month, when it's due, and it takes care of the rest. And you link it to your Equity Bank account, and it takes care of the rest. It will notify that guy every month. You can even put in 3 days before, a week before, that the payment is due, and it can do reminders every day. And you can actually penalize them. You can tell the system, charge them an extra 5% if they don't make the contribution on time. Now, the only thing about Easy Chama, just make sure that person that does not make the contribution is not the one setting it up, because then they may tweak the system. So that's what Easy Chama is, online banking for Chamas. And it's a feature, again, that's designed to help you support your investments back home. So, overview, so I can wrap up. Diaspora banking, as Dr. Mwangi said, we're here to listen to you. We're here to understand what your needs are, take that feedback back, and then really customize our banking experience to make sure that we become relevant to you. We have a 1,000-seat contact center. You can call us anytime, day and night. We've given you multiple access points online, whether it's on the EasyNet, which is the online system, whether it's on the self-service portal, whether it's on the Easy Banking app. We have credit facilities that we've made available for you to take advantage of these real estate opportunities. We have access to, these are the investment products, like in the stock market. We've set up dedicated relationship management teams. One of our team leaders that's in charge of the US market is here, and she'll come up in a sec just to say hi. And so we've gone from managing operational functions to now managing relationships, where everyone will have a dedicated resource that they can reach out to, and that becomes now your banker. And so you don't have to really try and figure out who do you need to talk to in order to be served. And then we have our money transfer team that's there designed to identify these opportunities and find ways to make it easier and more cost-effective for you to move money back home. So let me have my colleagues from Uganda and Rwanda and Kenya within diaspora just come in and say one or two words. And as they do that, did everyone get one of these bags? Yes, no? Okay. For those that didn't, we have plenty of them out there. So I just wanted to highlight something. Everything I spoke about is in that bag. There's a booklet within the bag that has everything that we discussed and much, much more in terms of what the bank can do for you. And then there's a thumb drive. There's a little flash drive that actually also has this content saved on a digital platform. So if you see it there, I don't seem to have it in mine, but there's a little flash drive in there that has the content there. And so definitely feel free to check it out. We'll be in the back at the tables. Again, my name is Patrice, and I have some of my team here. We'll be in the back. So if you have questions for us, feedback, comments, feel free to come and find us. Thanks.
Good evening. I greet you all. I come from Rwanda, Equity Bank Rwanda, heading Diaspora Banking Unit. It's a unit in head office, Grand Pension Plaza, for those who know the place in Kigali. We have a unit, a fully fledged unit to take care of diaspora customers. So all Rwandans living abroad are taken care of at that unit. So we have, I think Patrice has summarized everything, and that is what is replicated in Rwanda. Everything, because it's a product for diaspora. That is East African now, in this case. So we sit there 24 hours to cater for you. In case of anything, let us know. We are there for you. Yeah, so we do account opening, account funding, access, loan facilities, all those products he mentioned. We are there to give them to you. Let us know what you need, and we will tailor it to your need, and you will be happy to be serviced by us. My name is Joyce. I think I did not tell you my names. We have a 24-hour contact center that takes care of all the queries from all over the world. If you call at any time, you're answered and you're given an answer to your queries. Or if it's something that needs to be processed, a team will process it within 24 hours and you'll get your response. That is how swift we are in responding to your queries. So as on top of that, I think you've had all the opportunities you have to invest. Please take advantage, because it's an opportunity you have, and all Dr. Mwangi has said, take advantage and invest, because we are there just to take care of all your queries and issues and get everything done for you. Take advantage. Yeah, thank you. So if you're not Rwandan, you're not Kenyan, you're not any investor, any foreigner that is coming to Rwanda, don't hesitate to come and say hi to us, because we will give you a warm welcome as Rwandans. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks. My name is Abigail Mwangi. I work for Equity Bank, Kenya. I just want to appreciate everyone who has availed themselves. Thank you so much for being there for us, and thank you so much for even supporting us. We are here for you. I'm outside right there. If you have any issues, please come, and I will gladly sort you out. Thank you. Asante.
Okay, they saved the most beautiful for last. My name is Anthony Chituka. I'm the Executive Director of Equity Bank Uganda. I look after the Uganda subsidiary of Equity Bank. I think everything has been said in terms of what the opportunities are. I think my role is just to advise that these opportunities exist both all over East Africa. The things James mentioned available in Kenya are available in Uganda, in Rwanda, in Tanzania. South Sudan, not so much. In DRC, we're getting there. The key thing is opportunities exist. The level of the sea is rising. Is your boat in the sea? Because everybody is being lifted if your boat is in the sea. The sea is rising. In Uganda, we're available. I've been with Equity for over 3 years, and the bank is flying. The question is, are the diaspora taking advantage of what's happening in the countries? This pitch is made in that manner. Opportunities exist. Equity is available to provide you with the services to meet the opportunities. I think, or we request, that you take advantage of them in the various ways that exist. I want to close by inviting my Director for Strategy at the group level, Madam Mary Wamai Wangari. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Yeah, karibuni sana, and thanks for your patience. I'm sure you've heard it from the horse's mouth, and I do believe that you loved what you heard. That's my sincere belief, because we all have our countries, we all have our region, and I think we can make our contribution. There's another called William Arthur Ward, who has written several poems and books, and he's a poet and an author and a philosopher and whatever, you name it, inspirational and motivational speaker. So one of his quotes is that opportunities are like sunrises. You know what a sunrise is? I'm not sure whether you get to see them here. In Kenya, we see a lot of them. If you wake up, of course, if you wake up early enough, you can catch a glimpse of the sunrise. I mean, it's beautiful, especially from some of the locations. It's a sight to behold. But what he says is that they are like sunrises. If you wait too long, what happens? You miss them, because you just get a fleeting second to be able to capture the moment, that beautiful moment. So that is what James is talking about. He's saying, time is now for you to make a decision. How do you want to proceed? Do you want to take the opportunity, or will you wait too long? And then it's going to be gone. It's going, somebody else will take it. So I think that was the message for the evening. So what we'll do now is we'll give you a few minutes to ponder all that information, process it a little bit, think about it, and then we'll give you a chance to ask some questions, whatever questions you may have on any of the items that we have covered today, or any other item of relevance to ourselves. We'll be able to discuss that. But in the meantime, we will serve dinner shortly. Dinner will be on the table, so please just stay where you are. You don't need to move, and the servers will come to us. We'll do the Q&A right after the dinner, and we'll have enough time for that. So prepare all your questions. We will kindly request you, if you're able to write your question down, that would be marvelous. So we'll come around the tables and collect your questions that you may have written down. If you really feel you want to ask in plenary, that is also not a problem, but would encourage you to write them down if it is possible, so that we can deal with them. Yeah, so I think Patrice has talked about the information pack. Take it seriously, look at it, read it. If you have any further questions, our teams are outside and they are ready to assist you with any questions that you may have regarding how we can continue to support you going forward. We also have a Vision 2030 information brochure, which is on the table outside. If you're interested, you can pick your copy and then you can be able to read through, get a little bit more information. Remember, we become agents for selling our countries also to others who may not have the information or the people who are not able to make it today. So they'll be asking you, what did you discuss? So all that information is there, so feel free to collect that. We will also avail the presentation that Dr. Mwangi did today, the one on Vision 2030. It's a heavy document, but we'll avail it to your community leaders, the ones who helped us to mobilize you to come here, so that if you need the full version of that presentation, it's going to be available to you so that you can look at it in details, because we could not go into a lot of the detail today because of the time. So you'll be able to look at it at your own time and really digest the contents, and then you can probably ask further questions and of course understand what is going on in our respective countries. Yeah, so for now, without further ado, I think I want to request someone from the floor to come here, and then we pray for food. We thank the Lord for what is allowed to put ahead of us or before us. Any volunteer for prayer for food? Do we have a volunteer? Yes, please, madam, just come.
Thank you very much, everyone. Let's bow our head and pray. Father, in Jesus' name, we have no words tonight. We are so, so grateful. At such a time like this, Lord, you can gather us together as your children to bring information. And surely we know information is knowledge. We want to thank you for this great team you have brought from our nation to this country to come and bring us this wisdom, to come and bring us this package. Father, tonight we are just humbled to see how much you care for us and how much you love us. For tonight, as we continue, we are thankful for special blessings. Thank you for the food we are about to eat. As we eat together, as we drink, as we fellowship, as we share, we pray that your presence will dwell in us. The power of your Holy Spirit will be upon us. We give you praise, we give you glory, we give you honor. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you, madam, for that prayer. So, bon appetit. We'll probably reconvene after, I'm looking at my watch and realize I'm on Kenyan time. So let's say about 30 to 40 minutes. I think we will have done justice to the food. So karibuni sana, enjoy the meal, and then we'll reconvene shortly. Thank you.